Because if you're not being present, what are you doing? You're
Yeah.
either living in the past or you're in the future somewhere. And again, from a spiritual standpoint, the present moment is the only thing we have. And
Mm.
so, if you want to boil it down to in this moment, how am I showing up? In this moment, how am I feeling? In this moment, what am I thinking?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the more intentional you are about that, the more that becomes your reality.
Welcome back to PCOS Unfiltered, where we ditch the one-size-fits-all advice. I'm Lindsay, nurse turned health coach, two-time author, and your body wisdom guide. Here, I help you understand the messages behind your symptoms so you can stop fighting your body and start working with it. Before we jump into today's episode, I want to invite you to join us inside the Healthy Ever After community. It's where this podcast comes to life with weekly body wisdom tips, recipes, exclusive resources, behind the scenes content, conversations with women on the same journey, and monthly challenges with fun giveaways. In fact, we're kicking off our very first community challenge right now, and I'd love for you to be part of it. If you're only listening to the podcast, you're missing half the experience. You'll find the link to join the Healthy Ever After community in the show notes. Now, today's guest is Maytte Dusseau, a certified transformational mindset coach, law of attraction expert, speaker, and founder of Inspiring Your Best Life and Nurture Mind, Body, Spirit. Through her own journey of loss and transformation, she discovered the power of intentionally creating a life aligned with purpose, and today she helps women through limiting beliefs and create lives they truly love. As always, this podcast is intended for educational and informational purposes only and should not be considered medical advice. Please consult your healthcare provider before making any changes to your diet, exercise, or treatment plan. Now go ahead and grab your favorite beverage, get comfortable, maybe have something nearby to take some notes, and let's dive in. Here's my conversation with Maytte Dusseau. Hello and welcome back, and welcome to Maytte. Super excited to have you here.
I'm
So let's
excited
get
too.
started. Yay. Let's get started. Many listeners probably don't know you. So for those of us who are just meeting you, can you share a little bit about you, your work, what's led you here and why helping women step into their power has just become so important for you?
Oh my goodness. Well, I was that woman. Um, I was married and divorced and then got married again and had a child, and my husband passed away when my son was 5 months old. So I was doing all the things, I had the corporate job and I went up the ladder and had a really great life, had created a really great life for us. And so anybody looking in would be like, oh my God, they've got it made. They live in the nice house and, great life. But I was really suffering inside. Like I was consistently looking outward in terms of validation and was not feeling valued, had been in a toxic relationship that I was getting out of, had worked in this company for, at that point, probably over 10 years. We're going on 15 years. And I just really had to reset because, particularly after the toxic relationship, I'm a law of attraction person. And, you attract who you are. And getting out of that relationship was like, oh my goodness, how did I attract that? What is that about? And that led me on a journey to really look at myself and really identify like what was happening with me. And my story is that a girlfriend of mine reintroduced me to Abraham Hicks. And if you don't know who Abraham Hicks, they are a collective conscious that's channeled through this woman, Esther Hicks, and it's all about you creating your reality. And basically, what they were talking about was that if you want something different, you have to change. And so the onus and the responsibility was mine to make a difference. And that's what really started me on my journey because I've been a spiritual person, but I had a lot of trauma when I was growing up. And that really tainted, so much of how I saw the world. And through this process of, getting to know myself at that stage, just really opened up a whole another life. And I did network marketing. I've had some jobs after I left corporate, and I got drawn to coaching. And when I made the decision to become a coach, it just so happened that there was a law of attraction certification to become a coach. And it felt perfect for me because, again, what we put out is what we get back was what I had learned. But it was still very woo woo. Like I was coaching, I was drawing on my therapy background, but it wasn't solidified until a couple of years ago when I met or got introduced to the work of David Bayer, and he weaves spirituality, neuroscience, and behavior psychology. And so I upgraded to get a certification in his coaching. And throughout this process, what kept coming back to me was my message was helping people to understand that they are creating their reality. And at any moment in time, that's what you're doing. And for most people, they're doing it by default. And I want to help people to do that intentionally. So that's
Mhm.
kind of what has brought me to this point.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, that ties in perfectly with kind of the theme of this podcast, because I talk so much about, and I've talked about it on other podcasts that I've been on too, not being stuck in that diagnosis. And so, you know, same thing, like you're creating your reality. If you think you're just going to be defined by this diagnosis, and whether that's PCOS or anything else, then that's going to be your reality, right? Yeah.
Yeah, because
Um,
we are incredibly powerful beings.
mhm.
And whatever we believe is what our reality will be.
Yeah. Yeah. So in your experience, what have you found really helps people create lasting transformation instead of just having that temporary motivation or short-term, breakthrough?
That's an excellent question because for many of us, we do the course, we go see a person, we do the thing, and it gives us great information. And I think that there's a level of self awareness that definitely you achieve, but that's just the first step.
Mm.
The real transformation comes when you are committed to creating a different reality. In the work that I do, it goes back to really looking at what your belief systems are, because from a behavior psychology perspective, our results are created by our belief systems. What we believe then informs how we think about whatever. It then creates the thoughts. Your thoughts create your feelings. Your feelings are always going to determine what action you take or don't take, and that creates your result. And so for a lot of people, they think that the results is what is actually creating their beliefs. Like it's always hard to make money or I'm always getting sick. And they think, well, I'm always getting sick because their experience is that, but it's because of what they're thinking that their experience is matching. And so when you talk about real transformation, it's looking at in whatever area. So in with the individuals that you coach, I'm sure it's about, listen, what do you think about? What do you believe about what it means to be healthy? What do you think about what it means to have a diagnosis? Is your belief that it's just a label? Is your belief that it's a death sentence? Like, what is that belief? And really looking at that because we have so many of those that were programmed into us when we were young. And now as sovereign beings, we get to take a look at that and determine whether that is serving us or not. And so the transformation occurs in what I do by making a decision that that's not true and this is true. Because the moment that you do that, your brain starts to look for evidence that that's already true, and it's a continuous process. It's kind of like, Lindsay, anytime you learn a new thing. Like, at first it's awkward. At first you're like, it's so easy to just go back to how you were. But the more you practice, the more you practice, the more it becomes who you are. And then all of a sudden, it's just who you are. And
Mhm.
so that process of change is what I think creates lasting transformation.
Yeah, yeah. I actually had a mentor a couple of years ago that introduced me to this concept. And so, yes, I talk similarly, with my clients, same thing, because for my clients, I want it to be lasting change, right? I want it to be sustainable. That does not happen overnight, and it's not linear. There's ups and downs, but yes, it truly comes from all those thoughts and feelings, right? All those stories that we're telling ourselves. You have to be the person
Yeah.
that does the thing, right? Yeah.
But even in the process of that, it's having self compassion,
Yes.
grace, to your point, understanding that it's not linear. Like you're going to fall off. But for most people, they fall off or they forget what they're working toward and they get caught up in that familiarity of how they used to be. And it's just so easy to go back there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's remembering, it's being vigilant with yourself
Mm.
that this is what I'm going to be doing
Yeah. Yeah.
over and over and over again.
Yes. And I think, like, one thing too that kind of relates to this is, and I even remember from when we had the gym and people would say, "Well, I need to lose weight before I can do this." So it's always like I have to do the thing, before I can do this, or I have to have the time, or I have to have the money, or whatever it is. No, just be the person,
Yeah.
that does it.
Well, what I have found also is that when you make a decision, the universe conspires to
Oh,
help
yeah.
you to make that decision. But if you're not committed, neither are they, meaning the
Mhm.
universe, because you're being wishy-washy and it doesn't know what to respond to. So whatever that vibration is, more that the stronger vibration, which typically is the familiar, um, that's what they're going to respond to. That's what it's going to give you more of.
Yeah, and it will continue to test you too, right?
100%. Are you really sure? Are you really sure? And it's so funny because I don't really like, I don't believe that the universe does that, but I think that I mean, there's some level of truth to the fact that yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know how else to explain it, but yes.
Yes.
Do you
Yeah.
really want this? Because I'm gonna show you lots of different ways that it's not gonna be, and I want to see your level of commitment.
Yeah. Yeah. I know, as we're recording this, I just got back from the Costa Rica trip, and we talked about this because there were supposed to be a few more ladies that were supposed to be there with us, but a lot of things had to align and had to go right to get everybody there. I signed up at the end of 2025, at the end of last year. So I only had to wait, whatever, 4 or 5 months, but there were other women who signed up in, like, August, so there was a lot of things that could have blocked them from getting to that retreat, to that point, and, getting them to what they felt they needed, what the
Yeah.
universe was telling them
Yeah.
to,
But
what
my
they
but
needed.
my guess is that, and I'll just say this, I think people might go, "Well, life happens." But again, if you believe that you're the creator and that what you focus on is what you get, then for me, there's this piece of like, how committed.
Mhm.
Because if you're committed, like, I am doing this, then it happens.
Yeah, yeah,
But it's up to you to figure out what you allow or don't allow to
yeah.
to take you off course or not.
Mhm. And that can apply to anything in life, so, yeah.
100%.
Yes. So yeah, that kind of leads us right into the next question. So I mean, a lot of people want change, and I'd imagine that a lot of people listening, are listening because they want change. They feel stuck in those, repeating the same patterns. So what do you believe is really happening underneath that?
Well, I think that, um, yeah, everybody wants more. They want change. And even though I think that on some level it's simple in terms of how that can happen, um, we live in a society that has helped things to be bigger than what they are. And I think that for most people, it's what we just talked about. Well, there's two things. One is being curious and being an observer in terms of looking at what's underneath the surface.
Mhm.
And for most people, that takes you back to your childhood. Between the ages of 0 to 7, that's when we're a sponge and we take in everything.
Mhm.
And it doesn't matter. Like, one of the things that I've learned recently is that it doesn't even matter what kind of family. Like, granted, if you have a dysfunctional family and there's addiction and abuse and those kinds of things, of course, that is going to affect you. But I've had a number of, like, meet the authors that, for all intents and purposes, they describe their own families as being, good parents, two parents, never divorced. But one of the things that I've realized is that, again, being so young when you're in that 0 to 7, that it could be anything that your parents say or don't say, or a teacher says flippantly. Like, it could be anything that you then record in a way that makes a difference in your life. And if you're not aware of that, or are brave enough to kind of go back and really look at what has happened, and even that going back can be really challenging for people. That healing process, it's kind of like the analogy that I've loved recently, of the caterpillar. Caterpillar is just going around, and something pops into its head, and he goes and, does the whole chrysalis, and in the midst of that chrysalis, like, he literally won't say disappear, but is totally, like, not who he was. And then it's this butterfly. But even in terms of getting out of that chrysalis and going and flying, like, the amount of challenge and strength that it takes to kind of break up out of that is pretty significant. So we can look to nature to kind of say it's not it can be easy, or it's a simple process, but it's not easy
Yeah.
because of all the things. So there's the looking at the beliefs, and then there's the commitment to it being different, the knowing that it can, and the consistent attention to that.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that point you bring up because, as I mentioned, with me coming back from Costa Rica, there was a lot of stuff that came up that, like, I didn't realize was even there,
Mhm.
and yeah, my parents never divorced, and they weren't abusive, and there were no addiction issues, no major, type things like that, but there was a lot of stuff that came up still about their relationship and, like, comments that were made to me, in my childhood, and you don't realize, like, how much of an impact that
Yeah.
makes. So, yeah.
Yeah, the exciting thing for me, and this is, there's, two sides to it. Yes, you have to go through this, but what you get on the other end in terms of that knowing that you're that powerful,
Mhm.
um, I mean, from a health perspective, we've seen how powerful the mind is. People are, that label or that diagnosis does not mean that that is how you have to live your life. And there's so many studies that show how powerful your mind is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
I
mean, the one that I like the best is, I mean, there's tons of them, but the one that David uses and I really enjoy is, the piano players. They're playing the piano, playing the piano, and then the second group comes in and they play the piano, but they play the piano in their head. And the two things that happen, the in terms of how well they do, not a lot of significance in terms of difference, and the same parts of the brain get activated. So imagine you have a diagnosis and you start focusing your energetic attention on you being healthy, on you being well. What does that feel like? And it's hard because it may be in the midst of pain, it may be in the midst of whatever that reality is in this moment. And what I like to tell my clients is what you're living in this moment is manifested reality. It's it's what is, because we're the cause, your reality is the effect. So what you're living right now is what you've done, whatever that was. And you have an opportunity in this moment to focus on what you want it to be.
Mhm.
Because if we stay in the 3D of this moment, guess what? You get more of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's challenging. I mean, I'm not it's again, not easy,
No, no.
but
No.
but a commitment that you can make to yourself to have a different experience.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I mean, and that's perfect too because I talk about it so much on the podcast, just all over the place, I think. So, so many women feel stuck, right? They feel like they're doing all the right things for their health, for their life, but they're still feeling exhausted, disconnected from what's going on, what's really going on in their body. They feel off. So, from your perspective, what is often, um, happening beneath the surface with those women?
Well, I mean, I think that that's an end result. That's, a bit of time where, again, all the things that you're describing are things that we're doing kind of outside of ourselves. Um, and so I would ask, what I mean, are you in stillness? How are you really thinking about yourself? I mean, if you literally are running the loop, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing and it's not working, and that's the loop that you have in your head,
Mhm.
you're getting that result.
Yeah.
So for me and how I work with my clients, it's to take a step back and really be honest with yourself about how are you treating yourself?
Mhm.
Like even within what you just described, like what's really going on underneath around you?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know in my journey, the things that started to really help was to just focus on me. And what I meant by, for me, what that meant was getting up earlier and having meditation, taking care of my body on a regular basis, like the exercise piece, but the introspection, the journaling, the gratitude, like those things that helped me to get grounded within myself. Because I think that for most people, like you're on a hamster wheel, and yes, you're getting a lot of direction. Do this, do that, do the other, but it's not coming from a sense of really getting to know who you are and what do you want?
Yeah.
What makes you happy? What makes you feel connected?
Yeah. Sometimes you have to cut out the noise, right? Because we do live in just this world where we get, whether it's you just in your personal life and you're getting pulled in 10 different directions, you got to think about dinner and getting the kids somewhere and, whatever that might be, or something with your job, and you have career goals. Plus, on top of that, all the stimulation from the news and just looking at our phones, even if you think you're looking at just happy stuff, scrolling through reels, you're still being stimulated by all of that. And sometimes, right, we just need to get quiet and cut it all out and listen to what our body's actually saying.
And what our soul is saying
Mhm.
about what we need.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that that's like the beginning is to really find out where you are and take an honest assessment of what's going on in the thinking and the looping in your brain, uh, and then start being kind to yourself,
Yeah.
taking the time, because that's the other thing we're constantly doing for everybody else,
Exactly.
and
Mhm.
and putting ourselves last, like
Yeah.
we're serving from an empty cup.
Yeah. Yeah. And we have to change that in order to actually be the person that we, want for those relationships and for our jobs and for whatever else that's important in our lives, right? Yeah. Yeah.
So one of the things that I mean, I learned it through Abraham Hicks, which was really interesting, is how are you feeling? How much time are you feeling in not feeling good? or in the words that I use now, in a primal state where you're in fear, worry, doubt, overwhelm, any of those kinds of feelings? And how much time are you actually spending where you're happy and you're in content and you're feeling love and appreciation and just those good feelings? And that is a really good way to start to just assess where you are.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, if you're honest with yourself, you're spending hours in that fight, flight, or freeze. Your nervous system is dysregulated, and you can't really you can't get to where you want to be when you're always in that state.
That was an amazing conversation with Maytte. I'll be sure to link everything in the show notes if you'd like to connect with her. And if you're enjoying the podcast, come join us inside the Healthy Ever After app. It's where we continue the conversation with community, recipes, resources, and exclusive content. Plus, you'll currently be getting my summer sanity guide just for joining. The link is in the show notes for you. And if you love this episode, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because healing doesn't come from doing more, it comes from understanding better. I'm sending you so much love, and I'll see you on the next episode of PCOS Unfiltered. Nourish, heal, thrive.